All right.
Are we rolling? What button do I press here? Just I pull the power out. Oh shit, we're rolling already.
All right. Welcome to another Ward 250 update. Although this one's not an update, we're going to do some Q&A. We're going to try out a new thing. Instead of like a normal Q&A where people ask us questions, we've asked people to give us questions which can be answered with a clean yes or no.
Yep.
And we're going to do our best to do that.
Indeed.
There can be some explanation after we say yes or no, but you're going to get a clean yes or no answer from us.
Love it. Should we introduce ourselves?
I'm Isaiah Taylor. I'm the founder and CEO of Valar Atomics.
And Mark Mitchell, Chief Nuclear Officer. And I guess it is our bit now.
It's definitely the bit now.
Okay,
it's over.
Right. So,
all right, number one from Robot Beat. Have you considered a methane and ammonia to basic food a la at FeedKind? Shout out to FeedKind. I have no idea who those guys are. Synthesis plant as part of a unified package. Absolutely. I've definitely thought about this. Methane is definitely, methane as an output is kind of a cheap output. Ammonia is a pretty nice, important output. And you also don't have to buy CO2. You can buy nitrogen, which is a lot cheaper. So absolutely, once we have very cheap hydrogen on a gigasite, we will also bond it with nitrogen. We'll make ammonia for sure.
Yep.
So that's a yes.
That can go to fertilizer,
Yep.
The moment you got hydrogen,
you got a lot of things.
Yeah, you got basically a Swiss Army knife of atoms.
One of the core industrial inputs to almost everything. All right,
So let me ask you the one, right? So
Yeah.
this is from OG Taylor B. I think there are a couple of questions on the same theme.
Yeah.
Is there an avenue for retail investment?
No. Unfortunately, that's a no. And,
moving on.
And the next question is kind of in the same vein. Are there plans to go public by SPAC like many of your competitors did previously with great success? Also, no. That one's pretty simple. Sorry,
simple.
guys.
Yeah.
Private,
So, I mean, what are we thinking there, right? So,
Yeah.
firstly, retail investors, we're a private company.
Yep.
It's potentially qualified investors. And retail investors aren't qualified.
Yeah, I had a big tweet about this a couple of days ago where I was lamenting the fact that middle class Americans aren't able to invest in early stage startups like this. I still think that's kind of a bad thing.
Yep.
I think we need to figure out a way for normal Americans to invest in awesome startups like this one. Mechanisms don't really exist. You have to go public. A bunch of people were like, well, why can't you just SPAC? The problem is not how you get public. There's a bunch of ways to do that. The problem is being public. Being a public company is a huge distraction for our stage right now. We're just trying to turn on reactors. We have a lot of learning to do. We're not publishing quarterly revenue numbers, this kind of stuff. So
I think it doesn't make sense until you got revenue, until you're a real company to be listed, right?
Yep. Until there's quarterly earnings. Our EPS is very simple right now. Nothing.
Yes.
So
exactly.
We're still in R&D, and I think that it's really nice to be private when you're in R&D. The investors are frankly a lot smarter and more diligent. They're asking us, the right questions about our company, and we're private for now.
Okay.
Mark, what's your middle name? Wait a minute, that's not a yes or no.
That's not an yes or no. Should we answer it anyway? Yes, I have a middle name.
Yes, I have a middle name.
My middle name is Nolan. Do you have a middle name?
My middle name is Peter.
Thank you, Growing Daniel.
Thank you, Growing Daniel. Mark at Bowtied Philosopher asks, would you recommend a 12-year-old boy plan to study to go into nuclear engineering?
Yes, I think that's a great choice. I think it's a good industry. I expect crazy growth in the next 20, 30 years. So it's a good place to start thinking about studying.
What would you, how would you get into that? If you're 12 today, you're in middle school, you're thinking about this, what would you do?
So all engineering disciplines are basically STEM, right?
Yeah.
So science and engineering, maths, focus on those. There are a lot of after school clubs and things you can get involved in, which are, great fun.
Yep.
Just keep up your schoolwork, get into a good college, get into an engineering program. Needn't be nuclear engineering. We all kinds of engineers. We use every flavor of engineer in nuclear engineering. But any of the programs will set you up really well to participate in this exciting industry.
Yeah, fantastic. And I would also say try to do projects.
Projects,
right? Yeah. Try to do things with your hands that you actually build and you see to completion, and then you can put into a portfolio.
That's how you become a Valar nuclear engineer. Right?
Correct,
That's
yes.
Not just a nuclear engineer.
If you want to go to generic nuclear engineering, you can skip that part. If you want to be a Valar engineer, let's see some projects.
So Pascal Bowen asks, will Ward 250 be completed by July 4, 2026? This is also asked by Hexapso. and at someone else who I've lost now was asking about what are our plans for the US's 250th birthday.
Well, the answer is yes. It will be done by July 4th, 2026, to the best of our ability, and we're working very hard on that.
Yes.
And our birthday plans for the United States is to have a running reactor, so it should be pretty exciting.
Yep, a reactor, not just a test.
Yep.
Something that we can learn from and build on.
Yeah, and making a little bit of power.
A little bit of power,
Yep.
a little bit of heat, a lot of experience, making a huge amount of mistakes to learn from.
Yep. Iterate quickly. This is not our last reactor. We're gonna make this one, learn a ton from it, build another one, learn a ton from that. That's our process.
So I guess that answers that question.
Yeah. Okay. From Florian Meyer, is export of the reactors and fueling services to countries friendly to the United States a possibility at some point?
Yes. I mean, that's what we do today as the US, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we also have a project in the Philippines.
We're doing it today.
doing exactly
not
that.
just the industry. So yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we think it's very important, and we're excited to do it.
Yeah, I think nuclear is too important to be restricted nationally. You know, it needs to be a global phenomena. In the US, we're probably a little bit behind the curve at the moment in terms of new nuclear and innovation. I think that's being fixed at a extremely rapid rate, and exporting that knowledge is basically global nuclear came from largely the US exporting that knowledge.
Yeah, and we kind of stopped exporting it. Not in theory, like we export a lot of like ideas and designs and sorts of things, but actual reactors we haven't exported a lot of other than the AP1000.
Yeah,
and it's time to do a lot more of that. Yeah, we're actually currently doing this in the Philippines. We're exporting some reactors to the Philippines. Shout out to Kip Mock, who is running our Philippines project, and apparently his beautiful new LinkedIn photo, which we'll put right here.
feel free to contact him on LinkedIn and compliment the photo.
There you go. But Kip and the team in the Philippines are doing incredible work. We're very excited about that project as well.
So from @TJ Evans, is the Valar gigasite still a plan versus chasing data centers, in parentheses?
Absolutely. And I think the way to think about data centers right now is they're a great beachhead market. They're willing to build fast. They need power very quickly. It's a great place to start on a site. But our business model is absolutely, once we have a site, we double down on that as much as we can. Nuclear is one of those things in our minds that it's hard to make a site and easy to make the reactor, right?
Yes.
It's not easy to make the reactor, but it's easier than making the site. We'll put it that way.
So I think maybe the premise of the question is a bit off, is that I think if you have a site and you're deploying, data centers will chase you.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
We've seen this.
Right. Yeah. So the right way to ask the question is like, we're going to build a gigasite, right? And will we serve data centers? And the answer is like, if they pay us.
Yeah. If they come and they want to build and set up, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think gigasite type locations that we're looking at are all very suitable for data centers and for other applications.
Yeah. You got a lot of land out there. Maybe you have fiber, and there's just a lot of space to power a lot of heavy industry. And we're really excited for that.
Neat.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Mark from Heskel Ballas. Have you started on the CO2 to methane stuff yet? Haven't seen much of it. What's our plan there?
Yes, you haven't seen much of it.
Yes, you haven't seen much of it. All right.
Hey, that actually worked.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I think we're definitely working on it. It's not a high profile project at Valar. When I say that, we're not showing it off. It is something we are continuously working on, and as soon as we're comfortable that we've got somewhere useful, I'm sure you'll see a lot more of it.
All right.
I don't know how to ask this question. So, Valar has fully operational nuclear reactors ready for customers by 2028?
Question mark?
Question mark.
No. Caveat. Our plan is to make a series of test reactors. We have our Ward series of test reactors. Ward 0 is a unit on the floor. It's becoming Ward 250, which was a name change to celebrate the 250th anniversary. It was sort of originally called Ward 1. And then we have Ward 2 and Ward 3. And this is about us learning, right? We're trying to make these reactors bigger and more powerful in small enough increments that we can move quickly and we can learn from them. And if you look at our schedule, we have power on a site in 2028, and we're doing a lot with it. But it's really about us learning. So will customers buy that power? Maybe. We'll see. But we're going to be learning.
So I think the other thing is, our ready for customers. I think we see ourselves as our own customer largely at the moment. So would we prioritize selling reactors to customers or using it for our own nefarious purposes.
Yeah, our own gigasite purposes.
Yeah, and so basically, there's many dimensions of no. That said, I think our current timeline that we're chasing, which we would never commit to, doesn't put us far off that.
Yeah.
Of having reactors at commercial scale starting to deploy.
Yeah, I think the sanity check is we think the gigasite way of building reactors is a lot easier of a way to build, and so we're sort of our own customer on that gigasite. So we're probably in 2028. We're probably not going out to somebody else's site and planting a reactor there. Maybe we'll go faster, but I think it's much more likely that we will be building reactors for ourselves and then hopefully selling the power. That's the right way to think about it.
Nice.
At Redbeard Brian Keith,
Nice.
asks, will an HOA with 1,000 homes own their own nuclear reactor in 20 years? You have to say yes or no.
I know I'm having trouble with this one, so I'm going to go with no.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess the reason I'm going to go with no is it's not a technical problem, it's not a licensing problem, but I think we always ask ourselves, there's two questions. The one is can you, and the other is should you.
Yeah.
Okay, and I guess I'm leaning towards the should you.
Yeah.
So if you're not in some kind of special circumstance, you're far away from places, there's no reliable power. I don't think you should. I think it's probably more effort than it's worth. The whole idea of our gigasite is to serve big quantities of energy to ourselves and many clients.
Yep.
And so I don't think small distributed reactors is probably going to be one of the successful paths being explored at the moment. So could you? Yes. Should you? Probably not.
Yeah, it's not like nuclear is in particular very good at doing a lot of power in one place.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to kind of do a lot of work to get a site ready for nuclear, and then you have some security while you're there. And once you've gone through all that complexity, it makes sense to do a lot of power.
Yes.
That's kind of our belief.
And I'm thinking back to sort of, gated communities, homeowner associations, and most of them don't really have their own power generation, right?
Yep.
There may be a couple that have a bit of solar on like the rec center roof. There may be a couple that have, a backup diesel generator in case the HOA's incomer fails for some reason. That's kind of more the use case, I imagine. So the scale makes it possible.
Yeah.
But probably not the thing to do.
Yeah. And, we have electrical lines that
we do
theoretically will run to that neighborhood. And
Indeed.
So the power will come from nuclear reactors, from Valar's nuclear reactors.
There we go.
But it'll be distributed through a grid,
and
probably.
the gas in their tanks. Brian C. Newman. This is the flip side of the question is are we planning a 2 kilowatt home size or portable version?
I get this question a surprising amount. I often have people ask me, can you make a nuclear reactor small enough for my house or small enough for a car or all kinds of crazy stuff?
Can we redirect them to the Enron egg?
Yeah, the Enron egg. Here
the
it
Enron
is.
egg.
Yeah, it's ready to go.
Contact these guys.
So the answer here is no. Here's your answer, no. And the explanation is nuclear doesn't really like being small. I mean, you could make an RTG of that size pretty easily. They've made RTGs of that size.
Yep.
But I don't know. Nuclear really likes scale.
Yeah.
Like if you go to our website, if you go to valaratomics.com, I think it says nuclear needs scale. This is a good question because it really goes to what is Valar? What are we trying to do? We essentially believe that nuclear is this amazing technology which can make very cheap energy, and we want to apply that to very, very large scale use cases.
Yes.
We want to make huge volumes of energy in concentrated sites because you basically get to take this sort of, let's call it like a complexity floor, right?
Yep.
And then you build a lot on top of that floor.
Yep.
And that allows us to make, energy for data centers, for hydrogen production, for synthetic fuels. We want to, power factories that are using a lot of power, this sort of thing. And, we think that's like the really obvious and right thing to do with nuclear power because it's very powerful. The fuel is very dense, but it's got some complexity to it. So it makes sense to kind of do it all at once.
But I think what confuses it, right, is we want to do it in small increments. We don't want to take a big site and build one really huge reactor on it.
Yeah.
And that's what leads you to think, well, if they're really small, we should just put them everywhere. And I think that our aim is to build them like again, I go back to wind turbines. In a wind farm where a lot of the central infrastructure is put in place centrally,
transformers and inverters and all that.
But the single unit is relatively small and mass produced.
Yep.
But now talking transformers and inverters, I think this comes back to the question of would the HOA use a reactor? With that in mind, the answer is kind of yes. Right, where through the grid you'll be drawing power from reactors.
Yeah,
but
100%.
But I don't think that it makes sense to have the complexity of owning and operating a little reactor necessarily. Now there are startups out there looking at so. In terms of like the global A/B test we're in now, where everyone's trying everything, we'll see what works. Maybe we're wrong.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out.
So we should say it's currently
2025.
October 2025.
Yeah.
So
maybe this will be in one of those black and white look back clips.
Yes.
When we're just like totally wrong.
I do want to say that who needs more than 64 kilobytes of RAM?
Yeah, kilobytes of RAM. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark at Paul Scheckelman asks, will there be an operational SMR in every state by 2040?
I'm going to go with no. And I guess the reason I'm going to go with no is there's not an operating nuclear reactor in every state today, right? So
and nuclear's been around for a while.
Yeah, and so I think people will make their own choices and deploy what makes sense to them. There's no technical reason, there's no logistical or regulatory reason. I think it's just that people are going to buy what they're going to buy, they're going to run what they're going to run, and to guarantee every state would require sort of a complete shift in how energy generation works.
Yeah,
we should actually check. I suppose there's not coal in every state, not a coal generation.
Nope. There's probably gas in every state. Yeah, I would assume. Maybe.
No, Charlotte says no.
No.
Charlotte says no.
Coal. Yes, there is gas in every state.
Okay. There's gas. There's gas in every state.
And of course, there's like solar in every state.
Yep.
I think you're right. I think my answer would be no, and I actually think this is like a good thing. I would advocate that every state should have nuclear reactors in it, but I also think that we have a beautiful system in the United States where different states make different choices, right? And some states absolutely love nuclear, and they're going to build that out, and I think they'll benefit a lot from that. I think they'll have cheap energy, and they'll have manufacturing, and they'll have a lot of jobs there. Other states
make bad choices.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
And that's and that's kind of great, right? Like you can actually you have this comparative system where some states go one direction, other states go another, and you get to compare and contrast after 20 years. So I think probably not, but let's say another 20 years after that, they'll all realize they made a big mistake.
Probably.
And then they'll all have SMRs.
So, next question. At Dylan Morris, are you guys making your own turbines? I don't know. Do you want to come help us?
There you go.
There we go. Okay. So, Isaiah.
Yep.
At Jerry Lou _.
That's an important part. There's also an underscore before that as well.
It was Jerry _Lou_.
Thank you.
Okay. Just so you guys can find him on Twitter. Yeah. Have you considered partnering with other companies to develop synfuel and other production capabilities while Valar focuses on scaling nuclear?
Yeah. Excellent question. I think that scaling nuclear is definitely the hard part. I also think that producing hydrogen coupled with that nuclear reactor is the hard part. So if you've made hydrogen, in a couple years, another company is just really, really good at taking that hydrogen and making a synthetic fuel with it. It's very possible that we'll partner with them.
Yep.
But I don't know. I think the Valar philosophy in general is like building stuff is actually kind of obnoxious. Like it's very hard to build things. It takes a lot of time and money, and it makes us not sleep very much at night. So like we'd prefer to not build anything if we really had to. If we could just sort of buy all of these pieces and like slap them together, that would be ideal.
Or just buy like a kit.
Or just buy a kit, right? If someone were just selling kits, we could sort of slap them together and make billions of dollars. That would be ideal. Turns out you have to build some stuff, and we just build what we need to, right?
So the answer is clearly yes if you have a kit.
If you have a kit, but more like, if this whole ecosystem were already building all of this ahead of us, it would actually make our lives a lot easier, right? It's easier to be an integrator than to have to vertically integrate absolutely everything.
Yes.
So our general like decision making matrix is we verticalize when we absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk a bit about our strategy.
Yeah.
Right. As I think about it, because I think there's like two paths that we're looking at. The one is the nuclear heat generation, which we can use for industry or for making electricity.
Yeah.
And the next is the hydrogen, which is like the bridge to all these other applications.
Yep.
So I think at the moment our development is focused first on the nuclear heat generation, which can lead to power.
Yep.
We're not, to be precise, I think we said in our last update, Ward 250 is not there to generate power.
Yep.
Right. So it's not making electrons.
Yep.
But then the hydrogen technology, the converting that nuclear heat to hydrogen,
Yeah.
I think that's the thing we'll focus on.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. So not what to do with the hydrogen. There's a lot of
Yeah.
great technologies and great approaches,
Yeah.
which we're compatible with then.
And like the hard part is getting the hydrogen to be cheap enough, right?
Yes.
Like people are doing
Yes.
Fischer Tropsch already.
Yep.
They're doing all kinds of, making hydrogen into all sorts of fuels already. The thing that's really tough is making that hydrogen cheap enough to be economical, which
Right.
is essentially a function of how cheap is your energy off of our reactor, and then how cheap is our hydrogen generation system coupled to that reactor. So that is very much what we're going to do.
That's ours. Yes.
Mark, from Alexia Yun, do catalytic breakthroughs die not in the lab, but on the way to scale up? Chemical engineers have been perfecting catalysis for a long time. So what's really stopping commercialization?
So I was when I started listening to the question, I was thinking breakthroughs that catalyze the industry. But this is actually about catalysts, right?
Correct, yes.
And I'm not really a pro at catalysts. I should warn everyone. I'm probably going to say a lot more than I know. I think that firstly, to develop a catalyst from lab to industry scale is incredibly involved and expensive.
Yep.
And a lot of the chemical processing that uses catalysts was sort of developed and tuned for a specific catalyst. So when you have a new catalyst, it's kind of a chicken and egg situation. It's a bit like nuclear and nuclear hydrogen, where I've got a great new catalyst. It looks good in the lab. I need to get someone to build a plant so we can prove it at scale.
Yep.
But this person has to build a new plant based on my new catalyst and its performance. And I think there probably, like many new developments, especially ones that aren't exactly incremental, that could have a bigger step to them. There's like a valley of death.
Yeah.
Right. And to cross that is always very tricky.
Yeah.
Where you're not quite commercial scale, you're not commercially proven, and you need someone to commit to it in a big way to get there. So probably not dying in the lab. I think it is on the way to scale up. I think that's very expensive and actually quite complicated.
Yeah. So the answer is yes. Not in the lab, but on the way to scale up. Yeah, and I think the other thing I'd say to that is I'm excited for when we are making very cheap hydrogen on a gigasite. Because I think that one of the ways you can get through that valley of death, and I'm not thinking about what Valar does anymore, I'm thinking about like what people do on our gigasites. Because that's going to be a fun time, right? One of the ways to get through that valley of death is when you have a brand new set of economics.
Yes.
Right? Catalyst work is you've kind of got known inputs and you've kind of got known outputs, and you've found a efficient way to sort of do that translation work.
Yeah.
But if you completely change the economics of the inputs, there might be something that sort of shoots you through that valley of death because the economics are so exciting. So
I mean, that's a great observation, because when I think about it, one of the issues you have with processes is the temperature they run, the T-hot, the top temperature. And up until today, I would say that they either run sort of 550 C, so that's 1000 F, that's superheated steam at its best.
Yep.
Or they run at like 1200, which is kind of combustion temperature.
Yeah, oxy.
And there's not a lot between the two.
Yep.
And so, by unlocking a heat source at, let's say, the Ward 250 set point of 850, or the Ward 0 set point of 850 C, we're actually serving heat into an area which is underserved in chemical process. So we'll create economical heat available, at a great price point, but an unusual temperature.
Yeah.
And I think the efficient use of that heat is going to rely on new processes and new catalysts.
Yeah.
So I think a change like what we're trying to achieve actually is catalyzers.
There you go.
Catalyst development.
That's smart. Nice.
I'm here all day.
I think the gigasites are going to be a ton of fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
They are.
Building many reactors and seeing what people build on top of that.
Yeah. And I think, our kind of long-term vision, for instance, in Utah, at the Valar at San Rafael Laboratory in Utah, is also to unlock some of these applications, to be
Yeah.
able to do some experimentation. So this is not a short-term discussion, but
Yeah.
over some intermediate term, we'll be looking at running scale down processes, new catalysts, looking for new applications. It's
Yeah.
going to be fantastic.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Alrighty.
Yep.
That's another Ward 250 update, Q&A version. We'll do this again sometime soon. Thanks.
Indeed. Thank you.